So in my last video, I showed you the disassembly of the Sienna. In this video, I'm going to show you the reassembly of a camper van. Some of the pictures are a little bit out of sequence. I tried to do the best I could to kind of put them in an order of the way it was reconstructed. As you can see, I went way overboard when I put rattle trap all over the surfaces that I could cover with it. I thought they might add to the insulating qualities, but all it does is stop sound. It does nothing to insulate thermally. So this is the beginning of the flooring, where I had to put in 3 floor joists to support the floor, and each one is thicker towards the front in order to compensate for the slope of the floor. So the first step in doing the floor was to make a cardboard template to cut out the plywood to fit the shape of the wheel well. And since the van is wider than 4 feet wide, I had to use a couple of pieces of plywood in order to fit the width. I also added in a piece of hardwood, as you can see that little small strip at the door jamb, in order to protect the edge of the plywood, so I had a nice hard corner for the flooring to meet the doorway. So this piece of wood is spanning the floor joist, but as you can see, the hold downs for the seats stick up higher than that, so I ended up actually carving out some of the floor before I put it down. Knowing I'd have to be carving into the floor kind of helped justify using a 3/4 inch piece of plywood for the flooring, even though I'd prefer to have used something thinner and lighter. This was pine plywood that I had left over, a very poor choice of flooring. The problem with the pine floor is it's really a soft surface, so it doesn't do well being a floor, but it carved out pretty easily. So before I could put the flooring down, I wanted to run some infrastructure, so I ended up running a copper pipe for potentially pumping water from the rear of the van up to where the kitchen was. I also ended up running a couple of wires under there as well. So one of the problems with the floor of the Sienna is it's incredibly unlevel and has bumps and valleys and all kinds of obstacles. Originally, I wanted to use a rigid foam to insulate underneath the floor. The other issue is the height difference between each floor joist made it so I couldn't really fill that space well with insulation. So I ended up using some leftover denim insulation I had from insulating the house. It probably wasn't the best choice because if somehow water gets in there and leaks, it's going to take a while for that to dry. So here begins attaching the floor to the floor joists. I use Sikaflex construction adhesive to fill the gap and to make sure that the wood flooring wouldn't be loose or rattle or whatever, and it would stick well to the floor joist. So that's what this stuff is here. So this is the flooring that has been construction adhesived and screwed down to the floor joists. There's one piece of vertical 3/4 inch plywood that runs the full length for the bed support. That back hatch is a storage area, and eventually over time I ended up removing that hatch so that I could store taller stuff in there. And I also ended up cutting off the excess copper pipe that's coiled up in there. So these are the rails on which the kitchen glides. They are held vertical with that 3/4 inch plywood that is attached between the two floorboards. There's also the carpeting you can see on the left side. I ended up curling that up partway up the bottom of the rail and then attaching that there. Unfortunately, the railing for the kitchen went right exactly where the nut is to lower the spare tire, so I had to carve that out. So here's the level, checking the level on the rails for the kitchen, the drawings of how I had designed the kitchen. If you look at the rail on this on the top of it, you can see I've dated that out. I didn't know if I would be putting in like half-inch piece of plywood in there to keep those vertical. Turns out with the kitchen on the rails, I didn't really need to do that. In this picture, you can see the copper pipe and a couple of wires that I ran, and also a 90-degree piece of metal that holds that front rail vertical as well as the plywood. So lots of planning with the rattle trap on the car. There's all kinds of little labels on the floor marking stuff before I put the floor down. Then after I got the floor down, then I ended up starting to do the insulation. This is a thin like 170 mil stick-on foam. The ceiling I actually did 2 layers deep. So here's the driver's side corner, rear corner, and that's the module that I ended up stuffing behind that vertical metal in where the taillight is, in that behind that chunk of metal. And then this is the foam insulation on the driver's side. So this is the passenger side. You can see the wire harness of the car has been kind of taped up out of the way, and the skylight drain has been plugged into its little holder. So here's some soundproofing in the back door, which was kind of challenging because there's small holes to reach in there, so I couldn't put a lot of it on, but probably the way it's supposed to be done properly. You can see I completely went overboard with the ceiling, which probably adds way too much weight up high, which is not a good thing. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. So once I had all the sound deadening material, the rattle trap, that silver stuff all over the van, then I started to add this foam insulation. The ceiling I did 2 layers deep. I kind of wish I had spent more money on the foam insulation rather than putting so much of the rattle trap all over the van. So after the stick-on foam, I ended up putting some rafters on the ceiling where the metal ribs were, so that gave me something to screw into. And in between those, I put 2 layers of this XS board insulation. It's rated R3. I got that from Home Depot. So with the ceiling done, I moved on to the quarter panels. I ended up cutting these little boards to fit in there to be the inside of the cabinets, and behind those I put layers of that rigid foam. It's 5/8 inch thick, that silver foil stuff. And this is the driver's side. As you can see, there's a lot of carving and shaping these boards to get them to fit into the convoluted spaces. Driver's side again, I ended up being able to stuff 2 layers of this insulation board in on this side. You can see the air vent down there below that depressurizes the car when you slam a door. So early stages of planning the electrical system, I had picked out components and calculated how much power they all used to see what kind of system I needed to put in. One of the things I planned for in my electrical system was to be able to run the refrigerators at our home when the power was cut out. So I did put in a beefier system than the van really needed for what I was going to use it for. The kitchen planning had to be much more detailed in terms of being able to fit everything within that limited space. I had a given width, and I also wanted to not have my bed be too small. So I had to pick components that would actually fit in this space, which pushed what camp stove I could get, and it also pushed what refrigerator I could get. I ended up getting a smaller fridge than I had originally planned on. But in order to get everything to fit into this space and to get the rails and the tracks and everything to line up and to work, every fraction had to be accounted for. And here is installing the kitchen rail, trying to get it as level and perfect as I can get it. So this is the method in which I cut a round hole for the propane tank to fit through the floor in the kitchen so that I could then bolt it down to the floor. And this is the kitchen finally fit into the van. It's mounted on the rails. And here's a few different angles of looking at the kitchen fitted into the van. So for the countertop, I recycled some hardwood flooring. And the mistake I made there was to not cut the tongues and the grooves off before I glued it all together, because I discovered that although the top was tight, the bottom was not. So this is the side table that folds up at the end of the kitchen. By this time, I learned to cut the tongues and the grooves off of the hardwood flooring. I also threw in some hickory to give it some harder wood to make it a better cutting board. For a finish, I used mineral oil because I wanted this to be a food-safe surface. So this is the kitchen with some of the components put into place: the stove, the propane tank, some water tanks for the sink that was in the middle. You can tell from the pictures of the stove that the clearances were really tight. Then came time to put a finish on everything. I used polyurethane, and since it was cool, I put a heater in the car to help everything dry out. This is with the doors installed and the knobs, and few different angles of the kitchen. Here's the bottom of the propane tank sticking through the floor. I ended up using a couple of nuts and bolts on either side to lock that down. So that's part one of rebuilding of the camper van. The rest of the construction will be in the next video, which will be cabinets and the battery situation and the ceiling, lots of other goodies to go. But I want to keep the videos relatively short, so this is where I'm going to end this one. Thanks for watching.